But we're not human. It's a temporary experience. Now, once we can detach, we'll start to understand how to discern through the detachment, and we will see things in a much more deep and holistic nature, and we'll understand why these things are occurring, and therefore we'll be able to work with our incarnation in a much more holistic, peaceful, joyous, purposeful, and courageous way. Some of our longest standing relationships are with our sickness, right? It becomes part of our identity. What is it that has remained? Always the awareness. That's you. Reside as the awareness and develop no relationship to what has come and gone, and ill health won't return. And this is why people overcoming lifelong issues, I can't count how many people who have used these understandings to overcome things that they've been stuck with for 10 years, 20 years, their whole life. It all starts with detachment, because detachment is your energy is your power. And without all of your power, nothing's going to happen.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another exclusive interview on the RJ Spina channel. I'm joined with RJ, of course. RJ, how's it going, man?
It's going very well. It's nice to see you, Justin.
Good to see you as well. This one, we're going to be talking a lot about healing. We're going to be talking about a lot of things that, haven't been covered previously. RJ, I know you have a big event coming up in Dallas. You want to tell us a little bit about it before we jump into it?
Yeah, the Dallas event will be July 26th, 27th, 28th, and the whole event will be centered around healing. I'm going to be discussing things that I was not allowed to put in my book, things that I'm even not really allowed to talk about even on my own channel. But when I do in-person events or when I do courses, I can get into things that I would get banned for talking about. So we're going to go deeper into healing, how it actually works, where sickness, so-called sickness and disease, actually comes from. It is not what people think. How to actually work with it in terms of, is it actually something that's passed from person to person? Is it really the way that we've been told to believe? What can we actually do about these things? I'm going to be leading everyone through healing exercises, the same exercises or protocols and understandings that I use to literally unparalyze myself and heal myself of a variety of incurable and chronic genetic disorders and diseases. I'm literally going to be walking all of us through that. We're going to be doing a group healing, which amplifies the intention of healing by an order of magnitude. It's going to be the healing event of a lifetime. And that's coming up in Dallas, July 26th, 27th, and 28th. And I absolutely can't wait for that.
Absolutely. So if you guys have not got your spots already, I'll have it linked up in the comment section description. That way you guys can get all of the pertinent details for that. There's one other event actually coming up as well, and this one is an online event. So for any reason, if you can't make it to the Dallas event, RJ, can you tell us a little bit about Supercharged Self-Healing Live?
Yes. Backed by popular demand. So I've done this before. It is the most comprehensive, powerful, and effective healing program on this planet, or any planet for that matter. We're going to be going through everything that I have ever taught in terms of healing, and we're going to be going through things that I have not taught before. There's going to be a very special guest, and I'm just going to tease you for now, but there's going to be a very special guest who's also going to be involved with the Supercharged Self-Healing online live course as well. It's going to contain more things. It's so comprehensive. The people that took it last time were able to move past lifelong issues, whether chronic, whether it's something that they were told they could never get past. It is so powerful and so effective. It's going to start August 14th, and it's going to run to October 2nd. And the specifics are coming up, but I just had to finalize that my special guest will be able to attend, and he will be. But I'm going to keep that secret for now. So if you can't make Dallas, if the travel just doesn't work or the timing just doesn't work, make sure that you take the Supercharged Self-Healing online live course, which is going to start August 14th. It is the most comprehensive healing event that you will ever experience in your life.
Such a tease, RJ. Such a tease. Okay, so if anybody's interested in either one of those events, it'll be linked up in the comment section description, both of those, so you guys can join the wait list for Supercharge. Go ahead and get your tickets for Dallas. And RJ, you've mentioned a couple of times just interacting with you in person and being in person is actually like, a next level experience. Do you want to touch on that at all before we jump in?
Sure, yeah. So the analogy that I like to use is that it's warmest next to the fire. So when we're able to interact physically with a high frequency being such as myself. So what starts to happen is the low frequency disharmony that is within our subtle body or physical body of energy. It has no choice but to disperse upon encountering a high frequency energy force. And it's tangible, and people talk about it when we do retreats and workshops, and even when I do private one-on-ones. It's palpable, and it's something that can't be mimicked or replicated in really any other way. In person is the most powerful thing, and it does have to do with being able to connect with the high frequency energy. And attendees, in a sense, have to match that frequency. And by meeting that frequency, the low frequency disharmony actually has to disperse. And it's pretty remarkable. And it's one of the main reasons. It's one of the main reasons that I travel and do workshops and retreats, so I can serve in that way. And it's life-changing.
I've taken some of RJ's courses, and I'll be honest with you guys, like even over Zoom, it brings me so present. And so, like you said, RJ, warmest next to the fire. And it's just, it's awesome to see that presence in someone else, because then you give others the permission to do so as well. So beautiful. You guys, links down below if you guys want to check that out. We'll jump right into the questions, RJ. You talked a little bit about your life plan and how this sickness was a part of your life plan. Is that something that's typical for people? And is that better for our evolution to have something to kind of overcome?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. Yeah. So maybe the one of the more common misunderstandings is that if we get sick or ill, it's because we've done something wrong, or it's karmic, or it's payback, or something like that. Now, excuse me, that is not what is. That is not how things actually are. We give ourselves these challenges so we can see ourselves in the act of overcoming them. And if we didn't have these challenges, and I don't think there's anything greater than health challenge. I think that's normally the top of the food chain in terms of forcing us to evolve ourselves, because through these great health challenges, we are literally forcing ourselves to go deeper within, to bring out more of who and what we really are, because only the truth heals. And only by accessing more of the I am, or the sentience, or the true self, only by accessing it are we able to overcome the disharmony of lower consciousness, or what I call personhood. So we give ourselves the challenge because we're forcing our own hand, is really what we're doing. Because through the challenge, we see ourselves in the act of overcoming these things. We actually develop a stronger will. We develop a more tender heart. And that's really what evolution is. It's the deepening of our love and wisdom, who subsets our talents and abilities. And that only happens through challenges. And the greatest challenge that we can give ourselves is a severe health challenge. It's not, I did something wrong, or you did something wrong because you became ill. It's quite the opposite. Disharmony is inherent within the lower frequencies of the physical universe. And we know that these things are going to occur prior to the reincarnation. We're well aware of that. And we sign up for very specific things if it goes along with how we want to evolve ourselves. And so myself, my last name being Spina, which means spine. What a coincidence. I needed, and that's the right word, I needed to give myself the biggest challenge I possibly could, and a completely and utterly destroyed body with literally 48 hours to live, to a complete paralysis from the chest down. This was the biggest challenge I could give myself. And I wanted to prove to myself yet again that I could put a destroyed body back together. And everyone is doing their version of that. Everyone. So it's built into the life plan, not as punishment. It's so we can evolve ourselves by going more deep within ourselves.
Okay. So that probably means, RJ, that in the higher frequencies that there's really no sickness. There's no disharmony the higher up you go within the frequencies.
Yeah, exactly. So the perspective, the holistic nature of that state of being, that state of consciousness, and the environment itself, disharmony can't even exist once you get to the 7th frequency. And we're in the 3rd frequency. So, and the blueprint and everything that happens way above and beyond the 7th frequency when we start mapping out what it is that we're going to do. So those kind of challenges are not afforded to us in our natural state. And this is part of one of the main reasons we incarnate into the lower frequencies, because it's an accelerant. It's an accelerant for the evolution of consciousness, because it's so challenging. And it's so challenging because we're so disconnected from where we are, and because we can have what we call sickness, disease, paralysis, heart disease, cancer, whatever it is. That does not exist in much higher frequencies. We can only have that experience here, and therefore we can only learn how to transcend it here. And this is why we put it in our life plan when we come here.
So when this happened to you, RJ, did you have that mentality of, this is happening for a purpose, it's for my evolution? And how did that perspective actually help you to see it all the way through, as opposed to somebody who maybe looks at it as cause and effect, and I'm at the effect of the sickness, and, this is happening to me?
Yeah, I viewed it as a challenge. Nothing more, nothing less. I literally just said, okay, permanently paralyzed body, tons of diseases, incredibly sick, incredibly weak, prognosis is beyond dismal. I literally just accepted it as, okay, this is a challenge. I'm ready. Let's do it. And I was that kind of detached. So I was no longer identifying with my physical form, right? So I just saw the suit that I'm wearing as it's like if your car gets into an accident and it's all banged up and it's got all these issues. It's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to fix the car. Just going to fix the car. That's all. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm not going to play the little violin. Where's my violin? I'm not going to play the little violin for myself. I literally just said, this is a great challenge. I accept, and I'm ready to get working on it because I know I can do it.
Excellent. Excellent. So obviously I would think that, the opposite of victim mentality would obviously not lend itself to helping you to recover. So I think that mental state that you were probably in helped out a lot. And we're going to get into more of that a little bit later on. But RJ, we've always been taught, right, to what the doctor says is gospel, if you will. Like, they have the white coat. That's why we have white coat syndrome. You were put in a position where the doctors were coming to you and saying, this is what it's going to be. You can't recover. You'll never do this. You're going to all these bad things, right? How did you remain calm within yourself and, basically know that that wasn't right?
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question, Justin. Okay. We must know the truth. And the truth is that we are a limitless creator, not a consumer. I was not and am not interested in consuming other people's opinions. It has nothing to do with me. And I used to say that to them. Now, these are all very well educated, compassionate. These people wanted the best for me. I mean, it wasn't like they were giving me this diagnosis just because they were Dr. Evil or whatever, right? But I also knew that their opinion has nothing to do with me. None. And I used to say that because they would say, hey, listen, RJ, I've been doing this surgery, for 25 years and no one gets better. And I used to say, what does that got to do with me? And there'd be this long pause because the answer was, well, nothing. Actually, I go, exactly. Exactly. So when we know the truth is that we are a limitless creator. I don't give a what about other people's opinions. I never took it on board. Now, it was easier for me to not take it on board, Justin, because I was completely detached. So I wasn't identifying, number one, with the body-mind complex, and therefore I wasn't identifying with what the body-mind complex can perceive via my five senses, whether I heard it, saw it, or whatever. So I was in a complete state of detachment. So it didn't matter what these people were saying to me. And they all said the same thing, by the way. Can never walk again. You're always going to have to take these medications. You're a paraplegic. Go get your house retrofitted, and you're going to have to take these medications forever. Get used to it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I was detached, and I'm not a consumer. I don't care what other people have to say. I'm here to create the reality that I most desire. And the reality that I knew I was going to create was to put a destroyed body back together, because I knew I could do it. And I was absolutely going to do it. And I wasn't going to let anyone else's opinion affect me, because that has nothing to do with me. And I was tangibly aware of that. And that allowed me to proceed without interruption, without doubt, and without limitation.
Excellent, excellent. I think if people could embody that energy, if they're
Mm.
suffering with something, I mean, you'll be unstoppable. Within the book, RJ, I want to bring out a quote from the book. Today, I conquered permanent paralysis, but far more importantly, I'm free. I'm free from the limitations that I'd previously created and accepted. So, how many unconscious limitations have we accepted, and that's the reason that we're held back from whether it's healing or whatever it is that we want to achieve in our life?
I would say our life is the summation of the limitations that we have allowed to infiltrate our subtle body of energy through programming. I would say our entire life is actually the tangible experience of the limitations that we have agreed to. It's in everything. It's in every facet of our life. It's actually how we've created the life based upon what we think and believe is possible for us. We operate in a box when in reality there is no box. And so if we looked at our life, we would realize that the whole thing is put together through subconscious limiting programs, all of it. And by awakening from the emergency surgery, I had awakened into cosmic consciousness. I wasn't in a box. In fact, I realized there was never a box. It didn't even exist. So I was free to do and create as I deemed fit. It made no difference to me that my body was destroyed. I was perfectly at peace, joyous, and happy while still temporarily housed within a body mind complex that didn't even work anymore. I couldn't even feel it. And I was perfectly happy in that state that in terms of not being able to use my body. I had just simply harnessed my desire and intention to create a reality that I knew that I could. So therefore, being detached, I was able to do that. But I was free, as I said in that quote, I was free and joyous in that moment, even with a completely and utterly destroyed body and in agonizing pain.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. You actually told your partner, I will walk again. And even if I don't, I'm at peace with everything. I want to talk about the power of the will, but I also want to talk about detachment. So, RJ, can we talk a little bit about detachment first and foremost? How did detachment play a role in you actually achieving, success with everything that you went up against?
I never would have been able to unparalyze myself if I wasn't detached. Never. You can't. So, attachment, opposite of detachment, attachment is when we are identified or attached to anything. That could be a person, that can be an outcome, that can be a belief, a concept, an ideology, so called knowledge, or some kind of experience. So, once we're attached to that, we identify with it. That is our energy. And they always use the Spider-Man and the spider web, as you know, is the analogy. But once we are stuck or attached to something, that's our energy that we're using to stay attached to something. The more attachments you have, the weaker you are energetically, the less power you have to create your reality. Now, I was tangibly aware of that then as I am now. So I knew that having absolutely no attachments, so I had all of my power at my disposal, was key to be able to use that energy to put my destroyed body back together. So without the detachment, it can't happen. We also can't be, and this is where, Justin, this is very, very difficult. And this is part of why, from my perspective, humanity has lost touch with the self healing. And it's because of the attachment. So the egoic mind cannot hold two seemingly contradictory ideas simultaneously, right? Cognitive dissonance. It just can't, it literally can't do it. Okay. So the character, the human character, the ego mind identity cannot be at peace while simultaneously working towards something, harnessing desire and intention to fulfill a desire. It can't do those two things at the same time. It can't do it. Now, the I am, which is everything, contains everything. It can easily hold perfect peace, total calmness, and harnessing a desire and intention to unparalyze oneself. The I am can do that. The human character can't do that. And that's why, as I said, from my perspective, humanity has lost touch with self healing. It's because of exactly what we're talking about right now. It has no peace if it's trying to get to a desired result. Everything has to be to the desired result. So they're miserable, upset, and reaching and clawing for a desired result. Meanwhile, that whole time, that whole process, they're not at peace. And if they're not at peace, that means their energy is already going somewhere else, which makes them weak. Now, you put those two things together, that makes healing impossible. So we have to embody being completely here and now, completely detached, and therefore realizing that we are whole and complete as we are, no matter what's going on with the body-mind complex. Then that desire to heal oneself, the desire and the fulfillment by harnessing the intention is coming from the same place within, coming from the same place within. So alchemy is simply reaching in and bringing it out, bringing out the ultimate potential, the caterpillar into the butterfly. But you're at peace the entire time. And if you're at peace the entire time, it's because you're detached from the outcome. And when you're detached from the outcome, you have all your energy, and then you can create powerfully without being attached to an outcome because you're already at peace now. This is the single most important understanding, and we're going to have everyone that goes to the workshop in Dallas. I'm going to walk everyone through how to have this tangible experience, not to understand it mentally, because that's worthless because we're not our thoughts. It doesn't matter that someone says, RJ, I totally get it in my mind. That's not going to do you any good. We actually have to have the tangible felt sense knowingness of what I'm talking about. And once we have this, and we're going to do it in the workshop, now you can overcome anything. It's by being at peace now while simultaneously harnessing your desire and intention for an outcome that is already within you. That's the key.
Does people's inability to detach themselves kind of get in the way of them being able to, heal themselves? Because obviously they're still identified with the body, right?
It's what prevents it. It's literally what prevents it. So our most precious resource is our energy. We use our energy for everything, every thought, every emotion, every time I talk with my hands, every time we make the body have an experience, we're using our energy. So we have to have, when we're faced with when we give ourselves a huge task or challenge, like I did with myself, and how millions of people do the same thing, right? With some kind of challenge they give themselves. If you are unable to harness all of your most precious resource, you're never going to be able to do it. It's kind of like having a quarter of a tank of gas in your car and having all these different errands that you have to run for that day that are super important. You can't do it. You don't have enough gas in the gas tank. So through detachment, we gain more and more of our energy back. Our energy is our power. And once we're fully detached from any concept, belief, outcome, person, so-called knowledge, or experience, once we're completely detached from that, we are immensely powerful. And then we have all of our energy. And then when we follow the protocols of the Ascend the Frequencies healing technique, there's nothing we can't do. We must understand that when we have a different understanding of everything and we do different things, we get different results. And this is why people overcoming lifelong issues, I can't count how many people who have used these understandings to overcome things that they've been stuck with for 10 years, 20 years, their whole life. They now have a different understanding. They now have different exercises and protocols, and therefore they get different results. It all starts with detachment, because detachment is your energy. Your energy is your power. And without all of your power, nothing's going to happen.
Beautiful, RJ. When it comes to detachment, right? What if someone has the mindset of, okay, if I'm so detached from healing, what's the point of even healing at all? If I become so detached, why not just give in and say, I guess this is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really feel that, because I was in that in that state. As I said, as I quoted in the book, I was at peace with everything. I was in agonizing pain, and I was paralyzed from the chest down, and litany of diseases. Not looking good. I was joyous. I was completely at peace. Okay, so then the question is, well, then why bother healing? It's a good question. Now, I see it as a challenge. It's like if something has become misprogrammed and we know that we can do something about it and put everything back into harmony, into full and enhanced functionality, why not? Why not do that? We gave ourselves the challenge. It's like when you get a puzzle, right? And there's pieces all over the place, right? Why do you put it together? It's a challenge and it's fun, right? Why not just say, I'm at peace now. I don't have to put it together. No, you don't. You don't. But putting it together, when you operate from this detached state, is fun and it's a challenge. So that's the reason. And remember, we gave ourselves that challenge so we could see ourselves going deeper within, accessing more of who and what we are, and watching ourselves transcend the ill health, whatever it is. So I can understand why when you're at that level of peace, not even bothering to try. But to me, what starts to take over is that you want to meet the challenge that you gave yourself, and you want to see yourself in the act of overcoming it. And again, if it's already fun, if you're already at peace and you know that you can do it, why wouldn't you do it? That's the whole reason why we gave ourselves the challenge in the first place.
I think when you view it from that perspective, right? It's a challenge. It's fun. It's a little bit different, and it's a little bit different of a perspective, obviously.
That's Justin. That's because of non-identification with what's going on. That's why. Now, the reason why most likely the so-called average person doesn't. There's no such thing as average anyway, but the so-called average person doesn't view it that way. It's because they're so misidentified with their body-mind complex. So therefore, if the body-mind complex has any pain, they are identifying with it. And that's why it's not fun. And that's why they don't see it as a challenge. They just want the suffering to end, but they don't realize that the suffering is coming from the identification, not because there's pain sensations. My back still hurts. Come on. My back still hurts, but I don't care. And it doesn't inhibit anything that I do, because I have no identification or attachment to it. So I just wanted to add that in. That's why we don't view it that way. It's because we're misidentifying the nameless, formless, free I am with this. And then whatever sensations or experiences this has, we misidentify ourselves with that. And once we do that, we've created resistance because it's inauthentic. And once we've created resistance, there's solidity. That makes things impossible to overcome. So again, when we have a different understanding of things and we do different things, we get different results.
And RJ, when you identify, like, let's say you identified with that pain, could that make the pain seem greater? Could it like exacerbate the pain? Like, is that a reason why maybe people can't get out of some of these health troubles, because they continue to identify with it and it just is a perpetual cycle?
You got it. That's exactly right. So our attention, and by the way, the fourth book is, I know the third book hasn't come out yet. The fourth book is on the law of attention. Okay. So, but whatever we put our attention upon, our attention is our energy. So when we put our attention upon something, it's going to grow. I want everyone to hear that. When you put your attention on something, attention is energy. You give something energy, it's going to grow. So if you misidentify with the pain and you're giving it all your attention, it's actually going to increase. It's actually going to increase. Now, one of the meditations that's in my online course, so when people participate in the online course, they get a whole bunch of meditations that are not public. I've done, it's got to be at least another 10 that are immensely powerful. And there's one in there about pain. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole meditation now, but what I want people to understand is when pain kicks in, okay, and pain is inherent in the incarnation in the lower frequencies of the physical universe because of the experience of solidity. When you have solidity, there's physicality. When you have physicality, there's going to be the sensations of pain and pleasure. You can't escape those things, but you need to not identify with them. And that's the key. And that allows you to transcend them. So even today, although it's nothing like what it was 8 years ago. So when a nice big kick of pain would shoot down my spine, right? The kind of pain where you literally, you feel like you're going to lose your mind. You're going to start screaming. It was that profound. So anyway, so when that would happen, Justin, or anybody right now, if you have tremendous pain, I understand. Listen to what I'm going to tell you and do it. Okay. When you get the jolt of pain, right? Our natural lower consciousness reactionary mind is to brace ourselves. Okay. That creates resistance. That increases it. Okay, let that land. What we have to do is train the higher mind to take over when we get a jolt of pain. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, what it means is when the pain comes in, relax. Relax. Now, as soon as you do that, try it. As soon as you do that, watch what happens to the pain level just by doing what I just said. Now, that's counterintuitive to the reactionary mind. But when the higher mind takes over, it can gain greater control over reality. So pain kicks in, relax. Relax. Then imagine that you're almost sinking further back in your body, so that your body is almost like this projection of energy that comes out from the I am, from the sentience, because it is. So relax and sink further back within your body. You'll start to get more space or distance between the awareness and the sensation of pain. Through the relaxation and that space, the pain will dissipate even more and more and more. Then at that point, imagine that you're hollow, like a balloon. No bones, no blood, no ligaments, nothing. Imagine you're just energy, because you are. Hollow like a balloon. Imagine what it feels like to be hollow like a balloon. How can you be in pain if you are hollow like a balloon? Watch what happens to your ability to completely manipulate and transcend pain when you work with those things that we just laid out.
And your ability to float away once you put a string on your toe. No, that was awesome, RJ. That was beautiful. For anybody who's like meditation, they're like new to you and they're like, what does meditation have to do with anything? Like, how could meditation help me? Can we kind of talk about what role meditation plays in the healing process and this journey?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, we have to I'm hopeful that all the work that I do as RJ kind of sets humanity on a different course, a course of ascension. And we're going to use these teachings for the next 300 years to liberate, to free humanity on all levels. So when we start to understand meditation, again, different understanding, different exercises, different results, right? So when we start to understand that what we really are, the self with the capital S, the I am, it is meditation. We are meditation. We exist prior to thinking. We exist prior to emotion. We exist prior to the body. Therefore, we exist prior to all bodily experiences. Now, because we are meditation, it doesn't require an effort to meditate, because it doesn't require an effort to be what you actually are. The issue has become, we're asking the agitated mind, the conditioned, the subconscious pattern, egoic mind, the human character to meditate. That's asking the actor to perform an action. It's that actor that can't meditate, because that is your conditioned programmed mind. Now, to understand meditation, we simply bypass the human character and we go to what we are prior to the incarnation itself, and actually what produces the incarnation. There's no effort in meditating when you do that, because the self is meditation. Now, without meditation, and my meditation masterclass is unlike, as you know, unlike anything. Now, when we start to use that, we gain dominion over the conditioned mind, the doubting mind, the mind that's saying, I can't get better. The mind that's saying, I don't have a clear blueprint on how to do it. No one's told me how to do it. The mind that's saying, once you have this, there's nothing you can do about it. The mind that's saying, once I have this condition, it's permanent. It's terminal. There's nothing I can do about it. That's the conditioned mind. That's not what you are. Meditation allows you to transcend the conditioned mind, and it gives the real you dominion and command over the conditioned mind. And then it knows its rightful place as a servant to the higher mind. And that's when you can recreate the reality. But you can't do it without meditation. You can't do it without control over the lower consciousness. Otherwise, the lower consciousness will control you. And the lower consciousness is completely controlled, which is why we've lost touch with the ability to transcend what we've been told is possible or not possible. When we work properly with meditation, you gain dominion back over your body-mind complex. And when you do that, and it's not a slogan, you can do anything. Meditation is the single most important thing we need to learn. With meditation comes detachment. With detachment comes great power. With great power, you can create the reality that you desire. Period, full stop, end of story.
Beautiful. Beautiful. RJ, what happens when somebody sets a goal for a specific health issue? And is it linear? Like, let's say that I don't necessarily achieve the goal. Is there, but I feel better, or the symptoms are less. Like, what does that look like? What does health success look like?
to me, when we say healing, and this is so important, that's a great question. So, excuse me, when I say healing, right? What do you think of? You probably think of physical healing, right? That's the problem. That's it right there. We are identifying ourselves with the physical form. Healing happens prior to that. Physical discomfort or disharmony is the last place it shows up. It is not the first place we should address. So we need to go prior to that. What gives birth to the physical form, right? The etheric body, the emotional body, the mental body, the astral body, right? When you start to work with yourself, the issues that you have mental, all disharmony comes from disharmonious thought patterns, all of it, all of it. So by treating the body, you're not actually addressing the root cause. So healing to me is mental, emotional, physical, and all of the above. And what it actually does, real healing affords all of us a far greater quality of life mentally, emotionally, physically, and energetically. It's this deep misidentification with the physical form is actually the issue itself. It's the issue itself. So healing comes in many forms, and healing is a greater quality of life all across the board.
Beautiful, beautiful. So RJ, let's say that someone's in a situation where, they got sick, they're detached from, healing, but their intention is still to heal themselves. How can they harness the will? And how are all those things kind of related?
Okay. So harnessing our will is, excuse me, is our fixed intention to do something. Okay. So, and we use our will for everything that we do. So we set out to clean the garage, right? Okay. And then we get up and we start, right? So we are harnessing our energy and focusing it with a single pointedness of focus to clean the garage. Okay. Healing is no different. We just can't be attached to an outcome. So in other words, we are detached from an outcome. We simply are in the creative act of healing ourselves perpetually, and we're at peace the entire time that we're doing it. Okay, that's the key. That's the secret. And this is, like I said earlier, that's why I feel humanity has lost touch with self-healing. We all used to do this. We all used to do that. I'm bringing it back. That's what's going on. I'm simply bringing it back because it's a remembrance. Every time I talk about this, everyone's like, oh my God, of course. Yeah, because we've all used to do this. That's why. Okay. So let's use an analogy. Let's use going to the store. Everyone's heard me say this, but it works. Okay. So we're going to get in our car to go to the store, right? Okay. So we set our GPS to head out to the store, right? Okay. Now listen to what I'm going to say because it's so simple, but it is so powerful and so effective. When we set the GPS, that's us setting our intention. Okay. Now, when we set the GPS to go to the store, we know we're going to get there. Listen to me carefully. We know that we're going to get there. We can actually enjoy the ride. Turn left here. Turn right here. Merge onto the highway. Look at all the beautiful scenery. Look at everything that's happening as I'm in the process of getting to the store. We are happy and we know that we're going to get there. We have trust and faith because we have set the GPS. Now, when we operate like this, life actually becomes a joy and we actually enjoy the creative process. The creative process is to put our body back together. That's it. Put our body back together. It might not be as absolutely destroyed as mine was. Doesn't matter. It's that understanding, just like the GPS. Set your intention, forget about the result because you know you're going to get there, and just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the exercises, the protocols, all the different things that occur. Enjoy the scenery, all the different experiences that you have on your healing journey by giving up the attachment to the outcome. Now, the next level of this, as I said before, is to understand that our desire to heal and its fulfillment are coming from the same place within you. Your self-healing is within you. Your self-realization is within you. The manifestation of every desire that you have is already within you. The tree is in the seedling. When we work with ourselves in the way that we're talking about, we are simply bringing out, we are accessing more of the I am. And when we operate this way, we realize that we really are unlimited. We literally can do anything. And then we will give up the doubting mind because we're never even using the doubting mind. We have transcended the doubting mind when we work with ourselves in this way. So it's the knowingness that we're going to get there, and we're already at peace now. So when we get there, who cares? If you're already happy and at peace and you're in the act of creating, who even cares when it happens? Oddly enough, who even care if it ever happens? And when you reach that state of don't even care if it ever happens, you're simply in the act of creation for the joy of you seeing you transcend the limitations that you have been given. That's when you're going to be operating at the highest levels. And that's actually when you can do anything, is when you actually don't even care about the result.
Wow. Let's say, RJ, that we take everything that we've talked about today, we put it into action, and we've suffered with something for 20 years, and we finally heal it, and we're on the other side. How hard is it to then accept that something that was a part of our life for 20 years is now completely gone? And how can we move through to the other side of that?
Oh man, that's an absolutely brilliant question. That's a brilliant question, because I know, because I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of people at this point, some of our longest standing relationships are with our sickness, right? Becomes part of our identity, right? Okay. So, okay, let's look at it this way. One of the analogies I like to use about what we really are, the I am, the immortal, immeasurable, full, perfect, and divine fractal of God that we are. Think of a time-lapse camera, right? It just simply is aware of all the changes. Come and go, come and go, come and go. In fact, the only thing that ever actually happens is creation, preservation, destruction, creation, preservation, destruction. And what we are, the time-lapse camera that views this. Okay. Now, the time-lapse camera, the I am, what you really are, is unaffected by what comes and goes. And the time-lapse camera does not misidentify itself from one of those single images that has now come and gone. Listen to what I said. It doesn't, the time-lapse camera does not misidentify itself with one of the things that it viewed. It simply is in a state of allowing everything to come and go, to come and go. What is the one thing that remains? The awareness of everything. Every thought we've ever had, every emotion that we've ever had, every encounter that we've ever had, every lunch that we've ever had, everything. It's all come and goes. What's the one thing that remains? You, the awareness of it all. Now, when we reside as the awareness of everything, we will have no identification to having previously battled cancer for 10 years or having been paralyzed for 5 years or whatever it is. We won't even have to work with acceptance. Acceptance is a spiritual buzzword that has a whole bunch of issues with it. As you know, we've deconstructed that in some of our classes. We are the awareness of everything. It comes and goes. The one thing that remains is the awareness. When we reside as the time-lapse camera, we will not carry an identification with the idea that that sickness is going to come back. We will not do that to ourselves. And that's really the key, to be in full allowance of now in the presence of the awareness itself and nothing else. Let everything come and go, because it's going to. Try stopping that. Try stopping everything from coming and going, right? But instead of thinking about or lamenting over what you've lost, right? Or what has come and gone, what is it that has remained? Always the awareness. That's you. Reside as the awareness and develop no relationship to what has come and gone, and ill health won't return. But if you form a relationship with it, then you're opening the door to have that experience once again.
Very profound, RJ. I love that. So basically, the ego mind is the enemy, essentially, because what establishes identity with certain things, what holds on to everything. It feels like the ego mind's trying to like do all of these things, and that's why it's always in a past future, right? And instead, when we just exist as the time-lapse camera, everything washes away, and that's all we are, right? It's just that infinite presence.
Yeah. I would I would just be careful with the word enemy.
Okay.
I would simply say that it's an illusion. And it's inauthentic. It's not who and what we are. Now, if we believe that we are our ego mind identity, but then we're going to live a life of suffering because it's untrue. It's simply untrue. It's not the enemy. It's just an illusion. And we don't want to live our life in a state of delusion and illusion. We want to live authentically, because when we live authentically, the universe matches and mirrors our authenticity. And through that mirroring and matching of our own authenticity, that's actually how we are, quote unquote, rewarded by the universe, by being able to be our true self in a completely and utterly inauthentic world. And the inauthentic world that we create is our ego mind identity. Our ego mind identity is AI. Our ego mind identity is artificial intelligence. And when we start to really understand the depth of that statement, we will break free of it, and we'll realize that we have always been free, and our only bondage is simply not realizing that we're free.
With regards to like a lot of things in life, we maintain this like homeostasis, right? And as long as everything remains the same, we continue to do the same things. It seems like we would put a health challenge in our way as a way to kind of shake things up and get us out of our comfort zone. It would be the quickest way, right? Because when it becomes life and death, it's like, okay, now you have to take an action.
That's not even a question. You got it. That's exactly right. Okay. If there wasn't change, Justin, the next data point on our life plan would never be able to come up into the screen of our consciousness, and there would be no evolution. And that's why we say, and that's, a deeper, much deeper metaphysical truth when we say, the only constant is change. Well, absolutely, the only constant is change. But now we actually know why, because we would not be evolving our consciousness with the great efficacy if there wasn't change happening to allow the next data point in our life plan that's placed there for our own evolution. That's really the point. So the more that we live in our comfort zone, the less that we're actually evolving. Comfort zone is our death. Our comfort zone is our death. That means we've stopped evolving. And that's why certain things come up in our life. Oh my God, out of the blue, I lost my job, or my relationship ended, or I got incredibly sick. Yeah, absolutely. We put those things there so we continue to evolve. That's the reason. We'd never take the next step in our life plan if there was no change. And of course, the ego mind detests change, right? Because it's a creature, it's literally the summation of our habits, and those habits are the identifications that we've made. And that's why the ego mind identity, the human character, hates change, because it disrupts its habitual patterns, the things that it feels that it identifies with and therefore connected to. So, right, I got triggered because, oh my God, I have to make this change. No, your ego mind might have gotten triggered, but it's the I am, the real you, craves experience. So it starts to understand the depth of itself and its limitless nature. And it can only understand that through experience and the changes in terms that we have even within a singular experience, like an incarnation. So it's essential for the next data point to appear within our life plan so we can continue to evolve our consciousness with the greatest efficacy.
It's kind of like a movie, right, RJ? Because like at the end of the day, if we sat down to watch a movie and it was just us watching people watching a movie, it would be like so boring. But it's almost the drama that creates that's where the growth is, right? And so if we viewed our own personal experience as like the viewer of it rather than the person that's actually in it, that maybe that's kind of the detachment in the space that would allow us to see it as our evolution. And you know what I mean?
That's exactly right. That level of detachment. Notice the key is detachment to gain discernment and proper perspective, right? The part of the, from my perspective, part of the issue is that we're viewing everything from a human perspective. Now I understand why we're viewing things from a human perspective, because we're having a human experience, but we're not human. It's a temporary experience. Now, once we can detach, right, we'll start to use how to access superconsciousness. That's the book that's coming out. We'll start to understand how to discern through the detachment, and we will see things in a much more deep and holistic nature, and we'll understand why these things are occurring, and therefore we'll be able to work with our incarnation in a much more holistic, peaceful, joyous, purposeful, and courageous way. But when we're mired in the human perspective doesn't understand anything. It doesn't. That's why the human mind, the egoic mind, constantly wants more and more and more information. It's to try to balance out its profound ignorance. The ego mind identity is bankrupt. It doesn't actually know anything. It just memorizes data. It has no intrinsic knowingness of anything. Nothing. It is literally bankrupt. And that's the voracious mind. More and more information to balance out complete ignorance, which can never actually happen. And then the things that we memorize, we lay claim to and identify with it, which creates vanity. And that's what essentially the intellect has been used for. And that's why it's deified, because it's easily manipulated and controlled based upon what information is put out within the physical sensory realm. That's why wisdom is the towering presence that stands over and beyond the petulant child that is the intellect. And it's only through discernment and detachment, by having that higher consciousness perspective that you're talking about, that we'll cease to see things from a human perspective, and we'll start to see things from what it is that created the human experience. Right? We're so obsessed with beginnings and endings, the beginning of the incarnation and the end of the incarnation, the beginning of a civilization, the end of a civilization. What gives birth to beginnings and endings? When we start to tap into that, then we'll start to taste who and what we really are, a limitless creator being.
Beautiful. On that note, if you guys enjoyed the interview, please hit the thumbs up, as it really does help out the channel. And be sure to check out all the events coming up, the Dallas event, as well as Supercharged Self-Healing. We'll also have the meditation masterclass down below as well. Any final words, RJ, for this interview?
Yeah, man, I've said this before, but it's the truth. That my overcoming permanent chest down paralysis, sepsis, chronic disease, life-threatening conditions, told I only had 48 hours to live. Let me overcoming those things be your permission slip to do the impossible for yourself. Because you're going to realize eventually, and I mean tangibly realize, not mentally, eventually you're going to tangibly realize that nothing is impossible. There's no locks or bolts to anything. It's one thing. And when we are completely and utterly living from the I am, the immeasurable I am, we will realize that everything is at our disposal. And we can see that these teachings on self-healing, on self-mastery, on manifestation, we will start to understand that these teachings are the supreme teachings of being able to tap into the I am, so we can create the reality that we truly desire. And there is absolutely nothing impossible. Nothing is impossible when you work with yourself properly and optimally. So use this interview, my books, my courses, my classes, my retreats. Use my incarnation to free yourself on every level and in every way.